Everybody, there's cakes in the back, and we'll get this going. I wanted to, who received this Reporter magazine, the United Methodist Reporter at home? I thought it was fascinating. There's a couple of headlines I thought were interesting. If not for today, for today's reasons, then for, sometimes I get a little humor out of this, actually, if that's okay, to get humor out of a Methodist newspaper. The first one I thought I'd bring to y'all's attention is on the first page. It says, report shows United Methodist clergy are grayer than ever. Uh-oh. Thank you, Nell. Nell got it. You know, they're grayer than ever. But, of course, we're saved in that because the average age of United Methodist preachers now is 55. And with the youth that we've got going in our church, that age group will probably, hey, there's Adam. That age group will probably lower as those people get up into the working world. So we're growing some great disciples of Jesus Christ through our youth program at Hilldale. Amen? Amen. Amen. And then there's some, apparently they're trying to reach the younger people because I've never seen this many color pictures in this newspaper, by the way. But they're talking about Methodism lands square in the middle. It's about, demographics. And it talks about some famous Methodists, or some famous Methodist quotes. One that I don't really ever watch this show, but Homer Simpson had a Methodist quote. And I wondered if the Baptists were behind all this, by the way. If you're trying to pick to go Methodist, I'm not sure I would put this in this newspaper, but apparently they're preaching to the choir. But this says, talk about getting grayer. Thank you. She got that one. It says, in a dream sequence in The Simpsons, Homer Simpson encounters Krusty the Clown. Does anybody watch this? Y'all might watch it over there. And I'm not going to try my Homer Simpson imitation, but Homer Simpson asks, what's the one true religion? And Krusty the Clown responds, it's a mix of voodoo and Methodism. I know. I feel like this is the Letterman Top 10. Now here's a good one. Famous Methodists. Best known for his role as Ward Cleaver in the TV series Leave It to Beaver, actor Hugh Beaumont was also licensed to preach by the Methodist Church. And then in 1997, a film remake of Leave It to the Beaver starred Janine Turner, who's a member of Whitechapel United Methodist Church. This goes on to talk about some other famous Methodists, some that, like I said, I don't know if I would tell people. Prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince, I just like to say that. He went to the Methodist Church growing up. Now they think he's Jehovah's Witness. I don't know if that's funny or not. Clark Kent was a Methodist. Fred Gwynn of the Munsters. And what else? What else was Fred Gwynn on? Skip? I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. Car 54, where are you, right? Wasn't he on that? He was a Methodist, in case you didn't know. And then Troy Aikman. Everybody knows who Troy Aikman is. He was a Methodist. Sam Bradford, another football star, Heisman Trophy winner. He's a member of a Methodist church in Oklahoma City. And then another one the Baptists put in here, I think, maybe, but Billy Bob Thornton's a Methodist too. And then I just think this is one of the longest times I've ever read this newspaper, by the way. So, but there are some good things. There's also topical to us. I think it's in here. I won't look it up. TSU just retired their debt on their Wesley Foundation building. So Tennessee State University has no debt on their Wesley Foundation building. I think that's really pertinent to what we're going to talk about today. I do want to thank everybody for coming. I really do. And I want to remember those that couldn't be here today. And this is about the stewardship ministry, Find Us Faithful. And of course we have a song. You can't go to a Methodist thing and not eat and not sing. So this song that Kathy's going to sing for us, she's going to perform it so we will recognize it when it comes up to sing after dinner. So we're going to sing it again. That's why the words we passed out. So you all are just going to be entertained. Show and a dinner. dinner and a show. That's just how we do it. So I'd like to thank Kathy for doing this kind of spur of the moment. She's a victim of my disorganization. And I'm just glad we had a piano here, because I have been really sweating bringing one up the stairs. Blessed to have Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. Another round of applause. I'm appreciative, very appreciative of the bank for letting us use this room. This is a great place to have this kind of function. I'm glad you all can come, and the people that helped set it up, and the cooks, which they did a great job. Amen? Amen.
Thank you for working that afternoon.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm thankful for that too, yeah. But we are in the stewardship ministry. Find us faithful. I talk about and Thanksgiving, just thankful. Find us thankful sometimes, almost, right? And the culmination of this ministry, this stewardship ministry, is going to be our Thanksgiving dinner, and that's kind of looking forward, which feels like we've been looking forward 20 years, in this visioning process, and that we're going to unveil the master plan tonight. But how many things are we thankful for this church has? The ministries this church has that reaches out that we don't even think about. The video today at church about the boxes for children at Christmas. That guy, he's going to be found faithful, isn't he? And then we've got the great youth program. Somebody was saying, hey, I heard so-and-so was at your youth the other day. They don't go to our church. She said there was 40 people there. I said, yeah, kind of like that. It must have been a slow day, But it is. I mean, it's a great thing that our church has, that we've got how many, and if you call them out one at a time, a ministry that the church does. Fuel, I'll start it. See, I got the easy one. Call out one. Anybody? Children, just the children's ministry. Habitat, Room in the Inn. The manna, loaves and fishes. The seniors, the golden nuggets go and help people. There's a gazillion of them. And see, we can't even think of them all. How many do we take for granted? And those missions of the church are a requirement of us and our faithfulness. And that's kind of what this is about. It's, hopefully when we look back, it's kind of like I've been talking to y'all on the microphone way too many times recently, by the way, but it's kind of like last week. We were talking about when we're gone. Are they going to find us faithful? Because today we're looking to God that He finds us faithful. And that's part of what this is about. I see people fanning themselves. I'll try to work on the air. I'd also want to give thanks for the number of people that have worked on this visioning process for 3 years. We've been working on this thing, since we did the Bridge to the Future Foundation. Bridge to the Future. That's BTTF. I was trying to add another letter in there. The Volleyball Association of America Association. So there's a dodgeball fan. We've been working on this for 3 years. Every one of you's probably had something to do with it. Had small groups. We've used a lot of big pieces of paper, had to write real big on it to tape them on the wall. We've had people visit and tour churches. We've had architect interviews, and we selected an architect. We did all kinds of things to do the master plan, and that's part of our work is finding us faithful. And when we bought the land, the Bridge to the Future ministry, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. It was a tremendous transition in our church, and I think that stewardship ministry, that ministry, not the money, but that ministry circulated and rejuvenated the Holy Spirit in our church. And I feel that since we built the Christian Life Center that we had and we desperately needed, and everybody said, what did we do without it the day that it was built? And now we don't know what we do without it, and we're using it for things because we have too many people in that small building. Not too many, but we just have too many good ministries, not for the size that we have. So finding us faithful has built us to where we are today, and that's going to continue to grow, and that's part of why 3 years ago we started this visioning process. And I'm thankful not only for the people that put their blood, sweat, and tears in the visioning and the planning and the praying for God's vision to be seen, but also the time and the effort and just God's grace for giving us that that peace that we know here it is, here's what we're doing it for the right thing. And one of those people that I'm thankful for, who's done a little master planning himself, has Jeff Bibb. He's been integral in the church's growth. His family was integral in the church's beginnings. And I don't know if you know, and I don't have your resume, Jeff, but he's a fraternity brother of mine, so that might be a notch down for him. I don't know. Up for me, down for him.
It is what it is.
That's right. But I'm thankful to know him and to have been associated with him. He's one of the partners of Bibb, Lawton, Fryer, BLF, I think is what it's called now officially. And the mayor asked Jeff to head up and if I misspeak, would you correct me too, to head up the city's master plan. And how important is master planning? The city's doing it, our church is doing it, and you can see those nasty rock piles in front of the hospital to know that that's going to be gone sometime soon, and our whole community, Hilldale's community, who we're hoping will find us faithful as well, is going to look completely different, and there's going to be different people driving through. There'll be all different age groups going to Lowe's. There'll be different apartments going up, and this isn't going to happen tomorrow, but there's things we can do today for tomorrow, for 5 years, for 10 years, and for 20 years, our legacy. So, thank you, Jeff, for speaking, and y'all give Jeff a round of applause, too.
Thank you, Nelson. Visioning can be a really fun kind of thing to do. You get to take off the blinders, you get to kind of throw yourself into the future. You get to think about what can be, which is sometimes more fun than dealing with your current budget or with your current assignments or your programs. So it can be not only fun, it can also be quite inspiring. So I'm just wondering, how many in this room participated in some form or fashion in this visioning process? You either filled out a form or survey, you attended a meeting, you had discussions in your Sunday school class. Raise your hands if you participated. So that's a lot of participation. So I think the payoff, if a planning process works well, hopefully you'll see a little of yourself within what's going to be presented today. And if you do, that means the planning process has been successful. So it also, I want to make sure we underscore, a master plan, what you see today, is not the end of a process, is really the kickoff of a process. And we have a lot of exciting times ahead of us. Just diverging for a moment, how many of you have had a chance to walk out on the balconies here? Yeah. And if you haven't, Nelson, I assume the doors are available?
There's wasps over here, though. So you might want
All right. Wasps on this side, probably not a good idea. But I would suggest that a visit to the balcony is appropriate today. What a view of God's majesty to begin with, to have this kind of place with this kind of view in this kind of community, of which Hilldale is so integral. It also is a reminder of why it's so great to be in Clarksville, Tennessee. So take a moment and breathe a little fresh air out there and just enjoy the moment. In one of the planning meetings, Amy Napolitano asked a very thought-provoking question to me personally. And her question was, what would your dad think about this? And I gave her a pretty quick answer, but Amy, I've really thought about that question quite a bit since you asked it. The reason she asked me that question, my mom and dad were among the founders of our church. They were an outgrowth of Madison Street United Methodist Church. And the reason that the founders felt so strongly about the new church on the hill was that was the outskirts of town. There was some growing population, and there wasn't an existing church to take care of the needs of that growing area of Clarksville. Pure and simple, that's why it was formed. But I also heard my parents and other founders say, you know, at some point in time, there'll need to be other Methodist churches spawned because we've outgrown our capacity. In some ways, my dad and I had different opinions when we talked about building CLCs or acquiring additional property. But you know, Amy, I really think that my dad is looking down today and feeling a lot of pride in his church. And you know, I think he is finding us faithful, and faithful to the mission of serving God and serving Jesus Christ. So for fear of sounding too much like a geezer, and I think the reason I'm here is I've been around here since the beginning, although I was born right after the church actually came into existence, but it has been such a part of our family's life, and to be a part of that growth and change and the upsides and the downsides all along has all been part of who I am and part of why we're all here, obviously. So when you look into a 20-year vision, and I think this is where I'm attempting to speak from some level of experience, I would say a couple of things to you. First of all, in a master planning process, you're going to see some images, some visuals today that you may or may not agree with. What I would ask you to do is keep in mind that master plans shouldn't be taken too literally. I found that out because I've been a part of them, as Nelson had mentioned, and nobody's taken me too literally, so there's no reason to take the plans too literally. But what it does, it allows us to answer the question of what can we become as a church? How can we maximize our space? How can we present ourselves better to the public? But there's other important questions that we're answering. But what you're going to see is not about the building design. There's nothing literally cast in stone. But it's about supporting our worship. It's about supporting our church's ongoing missions and outreach. And as we go forward from today, after you see these images, as I mentioned, I feel like this is the kickoff for the next 20 years. There's nothing conclusive, there's nothing finalized, but allows us to take that glimpse into the future, that walk into the future that so many of us have participated in to get to this point today. So, this isn't about if it fits the budget. It's not about the blueprint, but it's about because we should be collectively listening to what God's plan is for our congregation. So we can do, if we listen carefully enough and pray and talk with God enough, then hopefully we'll have the wisdom to make the right kinds of decisions, not only serve God's glory, but to manifest the teachings of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So I think that's why we're here today. We have the professional assistance of Lyle Cook Martin, with Brad Martin here today. Nelson, I'll turn it back to you to do any further introductions. Thank you for allowing me to spend a couple of minutes with you.
On the process it's been, I try not to dwell on that. But we had small groups, focus groups, staff. We've asked, what have we asked for? And I hope the process has been so long, I hope I mirror what you're thinking right this moment. A lot of times, and it's our needs, and our goal is to make disciples of Jesus Christ. Is that not our goal? Is that why we're here today?
It's our mission.
And that's our mission. Sorry, you're right. That's our mission. I said that. Our goal is separate. But our goal to make more disciples of Jesus Christ, and that's through our growth. And that's the facility needs that we talked about are worship. We need more children's space, youth gathering space. Our narthex is too small. Our youth ministries are outgrowing the space we have. We need more classrooms to build up the children. We need, there's some statistics and some studies that if the sanctuary is a certain percentage full, whether it's capacity or not, it turns people away. You know, there's those kinds of studies that have happened, and these are the things, what we're fixing to see is the master plan. I'm terribly excited about this, I don't know if you can tell. But this has been a tremendous and religious process, and I know the prayers that have been involved, the hard work that's been involved, the frustration sometimes that's been involved, and I hope you all are pleased. But I'm going to ask Brad Martin, who's another esteemed colleague of Jeff and mine, I guess not really a colleague, but a good friend of mine. I grew up with Brad, and he was chosen, his firm was chosen, and they have a landscape architect too that's second to none in this area, Hodson Douglas, that have worked really hard. And one more thing about master plans that Jeff mentioned, he mentioned this building, and this building is part of, the reason this building's here was somebody's vision. And this building's nice, and I really didn't think about this till I was just sitting down over there. And we can go out and look at the gorgeous landscape, great time of the year to look at the leaves. And during the flood, back in May, the mayor, the county mayor would come up here just to kind of look around, see where the water was going up. We were watching the water come up on Maggie's, is it Maggie's coffee shop? Mm-hmm. And, but this was a drawing. Somebody drew this, and who knew? There was an old hotel here hundreds of years ago, and Hymeson's used to be right there, and somebody drew, oh, wouldn't it be cool down the road, I guess it might have been 20 years ago, down the road, what would happen if this was a key bank position, a big high-rise? Everybody's going, yeah, man, whatever. And then the marina, we talked about the marina a bunch at the men's group and had a presentation. It was a vision for somebody 30 years ago. I mean, it took 30 years for the resources to come together. There's old drawings, I think I'm correct, about 25, 30 years ago, of the marina on that spot. And that's fascinating. But this is what I want my children to look back and go, hey, Dad said, hey, they had that drawing. Remember we went to that dinner and I had to serve everybody? But they talked about this, when they bring their kids back to go to church. But this is what I want everybody to have in their minds, and then knowing that it's like Jeff so eloquently put it, and I'm so poor at being eloquent, but it's just malleable. That's the word I keep coming. It's subject to what God's purpose is, and we'll see all those things come up, but I'm not going to talk anymore. Brad, I'm going to introduce you now. Brad Martin, Lyle Cook Martin, Master Planner.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud, glad, and fortunate to be your architect for this master plan process. And there was a whole team of people involved other than myself. But to piggyback on what you were talking about this building, back after the tornado, there was a master plan of how to make Clarksville better, the downtown area. And one of the people involved in that was Jeff's current partner in this latest city strategic master plan, drew this square on a map right here as a potential focal point for the end of Public Square Road. And we were fortunate enough several years later to have designed this building for F&M, and it all started with a little blip on a piece of paper. So master plans have their purposes. It changed totally, but that's where it started. So great example right there. Real quick, our team is not just me. I'm the only person here. Josh Wright came and set up our technology because I never could have done it without him. Josh in my office, intern architect, and Lane Lyle, my partner, helped with what you're about to see. The landscape architectural firm Hodson Douglas out of Nashville is just absolutely phenomenal. They've done downtown streetscape master plans for Clarksville that you see every day, and they did the most visible landscaping that you can see right here are the grounds around the courthouse. They do everything we can get them involved with in the landscape world if possible. They put icing on the cake, and Richie Jones was the leader of that task with their firm. Also, as far as the team, you are the team, your pastoral staff. Skip, Adam, Kathy, Amy, Boo, Linda, there are more. And then the lay leadership team led by Nelson and just numerous people. I was glad that you asked people to raise their hands because I have counted at least 60 people who we have interviewed or talked to or met with, and that's after you all have been studying this for how many years? 2 or 3 years. So this is all about buy-in. What we do is only as good as what you feel and what your desires are and what your passions are. And that's only as good in a church master plan process as how your relationship is with God. And I can see, living here all my life, you're doing great things. Adam, your youth program, I keep hearing more and more and more about that, and more of our people from our church are coming to your youth program. But keep it up. That's great stuff. What I'm going to show, and I don't want to go too long because it's already pushing 2 o'clock, and I don't want to bore you, and you've had a great meal, and you may be getting tired. But I want to show you, as our final presentation for this master plan process, what we feel would work best for you. Now, it's not finished yet, and as Jeff said, master plans are just master plans. Nothing is final till brick and mortar are built on site. So this is dream world. Please keep that in mind, but it's what we think works best based on what we've gathered from you. You're going to see 2 parts to this pie, basically. A long-range master plan and then a short-range project that we feel like would make a whole lot of sense to happen first. And when I say long-range, a lot of people like to go for 20 years. Who really knows what that means? But we're calling it a 20-year master plan. And the short range is basically however quickly you all feel that needs to happen. We're looking at a total campus approach. I'm going to take this off because I'm going to stand to the side a little bit. So I can look at what you're looking at and use my little pointer here. No, I'm good. I think I get it. Anyway, these are our recommendations based on the information we have gotten from you, but it's not done yet. In the first steps, we held interviews with several different groups: staff, education, recreation, council and ministries, worship committees, and several open forum meetings, which were pretty interesting. Several of the reoccurring items that came about were, and there were a whole lot more than this, not enough space for classrooms, not enough storage, undersized music departments, children department, youth, worship, lack of visibility from Madison Street, which I drive by the site multiple times a day, and I can tell you that. I don't have to tell you that. It was very interesting. This is a master plan, but it was almost expected by lots of you that we were designing a new sanctuary, which is not really what we're doing. We're doing a master plan, but that was an expectation that kept surfacing. Okay, I'm going to quit rambling and start showing slides. Here's your existing facility right here. And you all have been visionaries in the past. This is an early 1950 drawing of the site plan of what you currently have, the original design right there. So you had the vision, as Jeff mentioned. These are the exterior views of what was designed. These are really neat drawings, by the way. That's the front elevation, the rear of the building, and then the 2 sides, less your CLC right now. Now, you really were visionaries. Does anybody remember this drawing? Do you remember that in day 1, and this drawing is not dated, but it's early 50s, that's your current sanctuary with educational and admin wing, with your tower entry. That is a future new, larger sanctuary addition with a more formal, dramatic entry tower right there. That is a really neat drawing. I'm glad we found that. And you all had all this information in your archives. And you'll see what we're proposing is not too different from what this drawing showed, which was drawn in the early 50s. This is an aerial view of your existing campus. Obviously, the church, the latest addition right there, the Boy Scout building, the 2 residential buildings that you currently use with the parking that you purchased from the hospital. And then we showed part of Holland Hill, your adjacent property here and in the woods. Note your drive lane coming perpendicular off of Madison Street, which is different from the angle or the organization of your current church facility. I'll come back to that. That'll make more sense later. And then we've got several shots of your existing buildings, a detached building, the Manna Ministries building, playground, the Boy Scout building, the signage, which is not very old at all. That is 2 years old, maybe, something like that. And then the historic bell tower. We showed a couple of shots, log cabin in the main building, Holland Hill, and we misspelled Holland Hill. We'll get that right later. Just because if any expansion were to occur, this is the only reasonable way you can expand, because the hospital has basically said they won't sell you the corner property beside the parking lot you recently purchased. Now, a couple more shots, the Christian Life Center exterior and interior views, and then the sanctuary upper left, lower left is just a stained glass example, and then to the right, your sanctuary entry tower. And we felt this architectural piece was very crucial in giving any architect you hired clues on how to do further expansion of this project. We feel it's very important when you add on to a building, whether it be a house or a church or an office building, for it not, or try for it not to look like an addition. You really want things to tie in and blend, if you can. Okay, now, these are small scale, and we're going to get into to show these master plan drawings in bigger scale in just a minute, but I wanted to show the long range plan and the short range plan side by side, because I can't flip back and forth quick enough when I'm talking about it later. This is the long range plan. The white outline is your current building. The grayish color here is what we're proposing for a kind of a phase 1 construction. And then the really darker areas are future phases. I'm not going to get into detail about this right now because I'm going to show that in just a second. This is the short phase, or the short range, phase 1. That's your existing building right there. And then this is the proposed phase 1 with a sanctuary and gathering hall and drive-through canopies and so forth. And green space. But I want you to see, because I'm going to refer to each other, the big important difference is with the phase 1, we're not building anything right there. With phase 2, there is a piece right there. Okay, long range master plan. I'm going to try to talk in generalities. That's your existing building right there, sitting on top of the hill, not aligned with Madison Street, and really removed, so to speak, visually from Madison Street because it's so far up on the hill. We studied this all kinds of different ways and felt like if we can accomplish gaining space for your program ministries and also try to gain better visibility with the campus, then that would be a win-win. And so what we've done, we've taken the latest building shape that was built, the Christian Life Center, and in the long-range plan, you duplicate it over here for a building piece. And I'll get into what those building pieces are in a minute. And then you do it again here to where you have this organized geometry of parts and pieces. And bringing the sanctuary down the hill to have a church image, feel, presence on Madison Street by the passerby. Now, one thing that happens with both long-range and short-range master plans is currently your entry drive starts right here, and you drive straight up the hill, right along those trees and a very steep slope, and then you kind of circulate into the parking here or over here. What we're proposing is that you abandon that current drive lane, which is perpendicular with Madison, but it doesn't align with the church at all. And you align it and force it to aim right at the new construction of the church, which is perpendicular to the main body of the church, which gives overall geometric organization to what we're trying to do. Enhance parking, create a couple of drive-through canopies, that's your primary, into a gathering hall, or a narthex, if you will, and another drive-through canopy right there too. Now in the long range, this is Dream World. Hopefully not Dream World, but to me it's Dream World right now. The only way we see right now that you can expand your campus is to potentially acquire the Holland Hill property. And if things go like gangbusters and that becomes a real need and a priority to the church down the road, we feel that that should be targeted in this master plan. With the, in Dream World again, the demolition of the current Holland Hill property with the building of an activity center that could be a real focus for youth. I like to call it Youth World, Adam. But also double for all kinds of different things. Basketball gym, program ministries, classrooms, outreach, all kinds of things with the same general building shape as you have on these other two pieces over here with the drive-through canopy. Taking the log cabins away and increasing parking benched into the hill in a nice landscape manner that ties in with more benched in parking back here that gets you, then you come back up the hill over here. And that would be an outdoor use space, a little piano curve patio area right there. Now, over here at the top of the hill, we would propose to fill in a lot of this this valley as it starts taping downward to create a nice great lawn, a big oval grass-shaped space that can be used for anything from the Easter egg hunt to the sunrise service to an outdoor service to a barbecue, a picnic, a birthday, whatever, anything that would be easily accessible from the gathering hall through that drive-through right there. Now this long-range plan, again, and I have talked to Miss Wanda about this extensively. I think she had to go early. I know that the Boy Scout house is very crucial to keep and maintain. I know that, understand that completely. In the long-range plan, what we would propose to do is relocate that building right there to be aligned across from your main facility, tied in directly with the Great Lawn, and also would be close to a little open-air pavilion that we were proposing as part of the Great Lawn as well. With that, we would also propose a big turnaround parking storage area in the woods behind the Boy Scout Lodge building with a little road access right there. They have a lot of trailers and different things that they use, and so it would be really nice to be able to tuck that back behind the building. But we know that the Boy Scout Lodge has to stay there. It's very important to the history of Clarksville and your church, and we want to place an importance on that. Okay, now, I'm not going to show floor plans, but I'm showing floor plan diagrams. Because the last meeting we had, we went way too far in detailing the intricacies of the floor plans, and that meeting was a real eye-opener because that's not what I'm charged with doing. I'm charged with master planning, looking at the broad picture. Now, if phase one moves forward or any part of this, then the work we did will be beneficial to the future development of drawings and plans and so forth. But right now we're talking in generalities. What you see in the long-range plan would be, this is your current facility right here, so this is lower level. Outreach and education down here, those benched-in classrooms that don't have daylight, we see that as being the room in the inn and some of the different ministries that you have that don't need daylight. Storage for a lot of that stuff too. Then education here, enhance what you have. Then the current lower level of your fellowship hall or Christian Life Center would be developed into new educational. Move the kitchen from that point to center between that newly developed educational area and a new fellowship hall and potential alternative worship area. Big space right there. Right, it's the same size building as that piece, but right now you're carving some of this away with toilet rooms and kitchen and so forth. So it's really bigger, it'll house more people. With a built-in stage, permanent stage area on the end of it that you don't have to break down and set back up every time you do a special event or an alternative worship session. Now, lower level on the grand long-range plan, this is your sanctuary building, and the whole lower level would be new educational. Because this piece extends down towards Madison Street, people will probably park here and want to enter the building as quickly as possible, so that's a great spot for it. And we want to put the new Heritage Hall here. It will house the history of the church. And we think that makes a lot of sense right there. Now this is the upper level of the long-range plan. The sanctuary stays as a chapel for weddings or any kind of service that you care to. That's existing education. We would add a couple of more classes right there because you probably wouldn't need that entire length of sanctuary. Admin gets embellished or increased or enhanced. And then now the open area of your current fellowship hall gets floored in. That whole piece becomes education, and primarily children's education. And in our floor planning, which you're not going to see, we have a kind of a children's worship area as the hub of that space with classrooms all around. This is that primary drive-through canopy. That's the secondary. And we want to introduce a new gathering hall, or not really a narthex, but that's what people call it. This is a modern version, kind of a piano curve to help with the extended drive-through canopy, but that's a big gathering space. And to give you a comparison, right now, prior to service and following service, that's your gathering space. Yep. And you don't have enough room, and you know that. Or when I'm in there, it's kind of difficult. You know, it's hard to get out the door. Not that you want to get out the door, but that's a very small space right there. And we think this could be just dynamite. I mean, it could be. I have seen and gone to trips in the Dallas area primarily, where all of those churches have this space, and a lot of times they have really nice, comfortable furniture, and people will sit around a gathering of 10 people and actually do their Sunday school worship right there, and drink coffee and all that. It just makes all kinds of sense. Library right there, and then this is where we propose to do the new sanctuary. This is the upper level. Now you see these wings popping out on the sides. The overall shape of this building is in keeping with your overall linear European style sanctuary with the aisle down the middle. The difference is, and you're not seeing floor planning, but I know what it looks like because I did. The seating arrangement works as sort of an arch, all focused on the chancel area where everybody has equal sight distance to the happenings during the service, and you don't have this long nave type approach. But we're trying to keep the look of the building in that same vernacular. Okay, I missed something very important. Almost went ahead, Kathy. A lot of discussion occurred about where the music department would go, because you don't want the music department to be so remote from the chancel and the service area that it's very cumbersome to haul equipment up steps and you know, to carry the handbell tables and all that. So what we've done in this second wing that mimics the same size as that wing on the obstruction, that's that canopy that takes you back. That's the gathering hall, the glass gathering hall with the drive-through canopy. That's the new sanctuary dropping down the hill, and then that's future long-range construction right there. You see that piece, and that piece are all of the same vocabulary. That's a close-up shot. Same basic bird's eye view, just a close-up shot of that entry piece, or the Heritage Hall entry piece. And really, that can be called a steeple. That's another view, kind of from the other side. It gives a better feel for the drive-through canopy right there, and that's the glass gathering hall, and that's that drive-through canopy back there. That's a kind of a back view. Future long-range plans, if this gets built, it would have tremendous views toward the woods at the back, and you would also have a little curved balcony that could be a spillover from that educational wing right there, which serves as the stage enclosed space, back of stage space for the future space down there. That's another view. We have all kinds of 3D views of this, but if I showed that, everybody would probably eventually go to sleep and want to go home. But once you draw this and the particular programs we use, you really get all kinds of different options in your views, which can easily be this. We talked about, we were in the car for 4 hours yesterday, and she said, and my wife is an ordained deacon in the Methodist Church. She said, it doesn't matter what you draw for Hilldale Methodist Church. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing are the people and their relationship with God. And Nelson and Jeff, you both hit that very well. I feel like we designers are an instrument to help your ministry in facilities, but your ministry is you. I mean, it's not about the building. My wife and I also talked about the fact that we have seen a lot of churches have major problems when they go into a building project. But we've also seen, if it's handled well, carefully, and thoughtfully, it can really enhance the ministries. So thank you very much for allowing me to present to you today. Thank you, Nelson. Thank you, Skip. Thank you very much.
That looks really good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To do these things. I mean, that's an amazing idea. You know, it looks really good. I can see that in my mind's eye, and that's God's plan for us. Is it God's plan for us? I believe it is with the work and the prayers. And you said thoughtfully, carefully, prayerfully. I wish I'd have said that out loud. That's the key to doing God's work. And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about sticks and bricks. And I'm thankful that Lisa had you in the car for 4 hours and you couldn't leave. Because that's when Deborah and I do our best talking, when we can't get out of the car. But it's about our hearts and our faith. And to find a faithful ministry, you know, the mission of the church is to make disciples of Jesus Christ. If we had a facility like that, would that grow our ministries? I say yes. If we could snap our fingers, had unlimited resources, and we could build that today, we would grow and our mission would be fulfilled and continue to be able to grow. But our goals for this Find Us Faithful Stewardship Ministry, it's not to raise a dollar amount. That's not our goal. Our goal is to promote spiritual growth, prayer, faith, use of gifts. Use of gifts. And you know, my parents knew when I was in high school I could throw a party, and I appreciate y'all coming. This is one of my gifts, and I really appreciate you all being here. But if we can't use our, now Dad's gonna start telling stories. But if we can't use our gifts and recognize our gifts, we won't accomplish our mission either. But that's the goal of the Find Us Faithful Stewardship Ministry. Our legacy is a goal to build upon what has been started, to preserve future generations for our ministries. That's another part of our Find Us Faithful ministry. Our ministries, expanding them. If we could snap our fingers and have this today, would it expand our ministries? Yes, it would. Would it also promote spiritual growth? I hope so. Yes, it would. And would it build on what we've already started at Hilldale? What they started 58 years ago? Is that right? 58? 56. Part of this Find Us Faithful Stewardship Ministry is the facilities. Phase 1A, well, I might even call it phase 1/2, is what we're about today. And that's reducing, eliminating our debt. We can't snap our fingers and make this kind of thing happen. We have to have the resources and the funds. But right today, we're still paying for our last job, our last expansion, which was needed the day we got it. And we've used it to its capacity, and we'll continue to use it to its capacity until we get something else. But today, we've got to pay off our debts to grow and to be able to go build something like this. And that's another, our facilities, eliminate debt, and allow God's work to grow and expand our ministries. You keep hearing that phrase, expand our ministries, but that's what it's all about. When we look at our budget every year in finance meeting, that's coming up. Chairman, if you hadn't turned in your budgets, Bruce needs them. I didn't tell you I'd do that for you, but I hope that helps. But every year we look at our budget and we calculate, and we have to turn into conference, what percentage of our givings goes toward ministries. And it's grown, but it needs to grow more. And that's part of what not having debt, not having to pay interest to the banks that have nice buildings like this. I know, it sounds really bad coming from me, but I don't think Jane, don't tell Sammy I said that. Where's Jane? Okay, thank you. But that's part of what, as a consumer at the church, we need to have less interest expense, and reducing that debt, not paying for it, would allow us to expand our ministries. Also, the savings. Another great benefit of this not having debt and defining and delineating our capital expenditures from our ministry expenditures and budget. And that's part of what, this is a process that this church is going to go through also when we remove this debt, is we're going to be able to say, here's our capital budget, people can designate money toward that. Here's our ministry budget, people can designate money toward that. Our capital budget would put sticks and bricks on the ground, which would allow our ministry budget to do its work. Lord, I'm looking at you. Don't ever have a church meeting and not read the Bible. And one of the ones, when we're talking about stewardship ministries and money and worry, you know, there's all kinds of worries we can have, and there's scripture in here about don't worry for today. You know, it doesn't add a minute to your life. But I have one in Psalms that I enjoy and gives me comfort, and I'd like to share it. I will lift up this is Psalms 121. I will lift up my eyes to the mountains. From whence shall my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to slip. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun will not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will protect you from all evil. He will keep your soul. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forever. And that's, as we get into this stewardship ministry and we're talking about money and budgets, I hope that you all will go to that Psalms 121 and remember and have that confidence, that faith. How many words can we replace for faith? But have that faith that God is He's going to back us up. He's not going to let us slumber. He's not going to let us fall. He never slumbers nor sleeps. And we're going to have some prayer books, and we're going to have some small group meetings. Also, about the master plan, we're going to have some small group meetings. But while we're going through this month of tithing and planning to raise $1 million, I think that's a very achievable goal for Hilldale. Just have that confidence, that faith, and that God will find us faithful to do these things that we need to do God's work and expand our ministries and expand our budget. I'm torn with whether to just end it there. I know Hilldale, I love Hilldale for the things that it's done for us and the comfort that we have, and this is a great vision. It's a great thing that we can do for our community and to exceed God's expectations. If we can't exceed God's expectations, try to meet God's expectations for us. So going forward in your month of tithing, I hope that you test your faith, and in your stewardship ministry on Thanksgiving Day, or not day, Thanksgiving Sundays at I don't know what day it is, but we'll have our final dinner, the culmination of our stewardship ministry, and that's the time that we're going to finish this up and see where things are going. And I am so thankful for you guys, and I can't believe my kids hadn't gone up to go help Deborah yet, but I'm thankful for everybody that helped today. And I really appreciate this church. I love you, and y'all are a great blessing to God. Thank you for coming. If you have any questions, might have some small group meetings about the master plan. I'm just thankful for you. Anything, there's probably more food if you want some. Thank you all for coming. If you have any